Hi everybody. Hello. I'm very much online over here. I can see my face. We are on live. I don't. Yes, yes. I have clicked on live. It's point 20. Yeah. Yeah, so I start, right? Okay. Bye. Hi everybody. I'm waiting for people to join in and at least let me know that you are there because I'm excited to connect with as many people as I can and it would be a great session if there's a lot of interaction. I am not very used to addressing a virtual audience, so pardon me for any faux passes which happened during the course of time, but I'm sure we learn as we get along. So, hi, and welcome to this wonderful session. And I'm so pleased to be sharing my views on what I think communication should be in all the relationships that you have. Um, have I been a good communicator all my life? Absolutely not, because I have always been work in progress. However, I have mapped my progress. And what I mean by mapping my progress is I have learned from my mistakes. Hence, my communication is very well crafted to the intent that it has to be conveyed. Therefore, I always say that communication is always meant to be expressed. You do not use communication to impress. Because when you fall into the prey of communicating to impress, you're talking about only you, and only you. You never know along the line that you've already lost your audience. So let me share some of the thoughts that I have on this very particular word, which is communication. I think this entire word is thoroughly abused. I belong to the training fraternity, and I have a lot of beautiful girls and handsome men who have entered into this arena of trainers. And they say I'm a communication skills expert. I am this, and I have done this, and I've read this book, and I've read that book. Very few people I have found walk the talk. When I say walk the talk, is putting all your knowledge to use. Having knowledge is fabulous because you need to have knowledge, but knowing how to apply the knowledge and when to apply the knowledge is basically what differentiates an efficient communicator from an effective communicator. So here I'm going to share maybe my personal views, my personal stories on how is it that you become an effective communicator, and especially in your relationships. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to hone your observation skills. Now, what do I mean by observation skills? Now, friends, I have met people who are voracious readers. And voracious readers is a very small word to say because they really read a lot. I am not one of them. There's always a kind of a joke between my husband and my daughter, and whenever I pick up a new book, they exchange knowing looks and they look at each other, and he says 5, she says 3, and I just look at them and watch them amused as what they are trying to say, and I don't let them down because on the 5th page or on the 7th page I'm out like a light, and I haven't even read that book. So basically, my learning about any subject is more of auditory. So books have not been my friends for a very long time. I don't say that they are not now. I have begun reading, and it helps me. So friends, so I've seen people go into a lot of bookstores and bookshops, and they pick up a lot of books. You have one book with you all the time. It may not be a paperback, it may not be leather bound, it may not come in the best possible packing, but it is there with you. Even the editions are there every time. You don't have to even announce it. The new editions keep coming. But somehow we ignore this most vital and important book. And that book is a Bible which you can keep on visiting, revisiting, and you get the inferences from there which are absolutely life changing. My friends, I'm talking about the book of your life, and each book of your life is unique. It's unique. Why? Because at every point of time, it teaches you something or the other, and they are your own mistakes, which have now become experiences for your future life. So, communication can be crafted, deriving whatever you've learned from your past experiences. So, as we grow up, friends, communication changes as per your state of mind. What kind of a state of mind you have while communicating makes a lot of difference to the words that come out of your mouth. So, as we are growing up, we also see that we are conditioned, the way we are brought up in life, the way we interact with people from our childhood, how our parents bring us up, charts the course of our life in the way we communicate. Yeah. So what we do is our positions. I think our psychologists who are there in the audience would agree with me that around 5 or 7, your personality is already formed by the experiences that you have in those growing formative years, what you hear your parents say, what you listen to, what your teachers say, become huge imprints on your mind, and they become your framework to look at life. And that's where we assume positions in our life as we grow up. Now, what are these positions that I'm talking about? There are 4 life positions which I'd like you to get familiar with. I'm sure when I speak about it, I'm sure you'll resonate with it. The 4 life positions go like this. The first life position, is I'm okay and you're okay. The second life position would be I'm okay, but you're not okay. The third life position is I'm not okay, but you're okay. The fourth life position is I'm not okay, you're not okay. When I introduced you to all these life positions, I have emoted accordingly, and I'm sure you must have drawn some kind of inference from what kind of positions I speak of. This is a part of transactional analysis because in transactional analysis, communication is treated as a transaction between 2 people. It's not about a sender or a receiver, decoding, encoding, barriers to communication. That's a thing of passe. You need to look at communication as something which defines your being. Um, I always I always mention one thing in all my trainings or in all my interactions with my friends, with my colleagues is जो दिखता है वही बिकता है, लेकिन जो बोलता है वही टिकता है. We never ever give a lot of importance to the way we communicate. Somewhere we are so engrossed in expressing our thoughts and impressing people with the knowledge that we have that we lose out on the finer nuances of communicating. Hey guys, thank you for joining. Hi Rayana, Dr. Bhavi, how are you? And it's a pleasure that you guys are here to listen to me. And I would really like if you have any questions for me. So I'm going to get back to the life positions that I was just speaking about. Now, our communication, as I said in the beginning, is basically the state of mind that we are in. So let's assume you in that position of I'm okay, but you're not okay. Now, how could a communication be of a person who's having this kind of a mindset, where he or she feels that there is nothing wrong with that person, everything is absolutely fine. He's the God's most important gift sent to this earth, and everyone interacting with him or her, has some kind of a problem. So the person who interacts in this life position is arrogant, is aggressive. He or she doesn't care what others might feel when he communicates or she communicates. So this becomes a one-way communication where often people are put down by the person who communicates from this position. These are authoritative people who have absolutely no regard for other people's feelings. That's why they say, I'm okay and you're not okay. The second position that I'm going to talk to you about is, the one that is, I'm not okay, but you're okay. Now, what happens in this position is you have the lowest self-esteem, the lowest self-confidence. And at this position, you feel that even if you had a donkey come before you, you feel that the donkey knows more than you. That donkey has more self-esteem, or that donkey has more self-confidence other than you. Now, at this point of time, if you find yourself in this position, there are people who are there to take advantage of your mental state. They will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So your communication will always be a couple of notches down. You are always in the requesting mode. You are always in a victimized mode. You are always in the mode showing them that you need help when that may not be the case. I have shared my personal experience because I had been in this position for 2 years. I had lost my self-confidence, lost my self-respect, and I allowed people to walk all over me. It was only the sheer mental strength, awareness, observation to understand what I am actually made up of. And that's how you get out of it. And the moment your language changes, everything changes around you. So this is the position that if you or anybody else finds yourself in this position, you need to be aware first. You need to be observant of how you deal with people. And it's only you and you who can come out of these positions. So hi Parveen, what is your question? How to deal with such people who are in the first position? I'm okay and you're not okay. All right, so that's what I was just mentioning, that I was in that position for 2 years. You have to shake yourself and get up. There is no other substitute to that. You have to will yourself. You have to be with positive minded people who tell you, who remind you that, man, you were what you were so many years ago. Where is that lady? You have to be with your loved ones who have seen you naked physically and mentally. You need to listen to them. You know what happens with all of us, Parveen, is we are so busy impressing people who come into our life for a reason and for a season. However, we ignore those people who are in our life for no reason and for no season. They are our loved ones and our family members. Approach them, go to them. They will embrace you with open arms and lift you out of that position that you find yourself in. So this is what I did. I am blessed with wonderful network of well-wishers. My trainees still remember me. Just a message from them or just a call from them is enough for me to get out of that position. So you need to basically be aware, and it's only you. There is nobody else who can lift you out of that position. So Parveen, I hope I have answered that question, and that's the position that you should, if you are, please get out of it. Because as I know you, you're a super duper confident woman that I see, a young girl who has fantastic ideas, and you have come out in the open. So I don't even think you're in that position anymore. So thank you for asking me that question. All right. Hi, Meera. Okay, your hubby feels inferiority complex about me, so he's trying to let me down everywhere. Darling, this is the case with most of the relationships that we get into. Marriage is basically something that you enter with your open eyes. Either it's arranged or it's love. The first 2 years are, you can call, of self-discovery. The third year could and self-discovery and honeymoon. The third year and onwards becomes reality. Unfortunately, reality, if it's opened with two evolved individuals, it's fantastic. But if it is with an individual who comes with a conditioned mindset and maybe a male chauvinist attitude, this is what you're going to face in your life. So girl, if you are confident of your abilities, and if you have done something in life in terms of education, if you have the guts to stand up for what you think is right, do it right away. My friends, I just want to tell you one thing. We are all made into different molds, and we are one of a kind. The mold is broken the day we are born. Be happy with the way you are born, with the height, with the weight, with the face. You are the most beautiful person God could have created. If that is what you have in mind all the time, there is no person on this earth who has the right, who has the capability to make you feel inferior. So, Meera, my darling, have faith in yourself, and you may be married for 13 long years, you have kids. Yes, that's more important. I just read that you have two kids. Darling, kids emulate, kids look at their parents and form their personalities. So if you have gotten into that mode of being a little, subdued because because your husband lets you down, you have to snap out of it, because bringing a child in this world is not an act which is just for 2 minutes. It is an act because you're going to produce a child and give something good to the society. So it is your responsibility to see that you shape the future of the child, and communicating with them, never letting the self-esteem down, never letting the self-confidence down is in your hands. So I'm going to give you another life example of mine. My only child, Anushka, came down with uveitis, which is a retinal disease, and if it is not detected earlier, the person can go blind. We had come down from our Singapore holiday in the year 2008. One fine day, she just woke up and she says, Mom, I can't see, I can't see. I went to a doctor, and of course, I didn't. I went to an eye doctor. He examined her for 1 hour, and he wasn't able to diagnose. It was a wrong diagnosis, wrong prescription, and her condition deteriorated. I'm going to cut a long story short here, just to tell you that that journey that I walked with my daughter has been life changing for me and also for her. Now, why do I say that? She got it at a time when she had entered her teens. Now you can understand what teens are, where there's attraction for boys. You want to look good, you want to be very attractive, etc. The only medication for uveitis is steroids. She was pumped in 40 mg of steroids every day for maybe 1.5 years. And when your body is pumped with steroids, you are eating equivalent of maybe 4 people. And at an age when you need to be slim and trim, when you want to be attractive, when you want to be appreciated, my beautiful daughter kept on putting on a lot of weight. She had tremendous peer pressure, tremendous. She was treated as an outcast. And at that point of time, this profession, which is training, helped me to see to it that I do not let my only child become a victim of depression, become a victim of self-doubt, become a victim of self-esteem. It was my duty to see to it that this product, which I have manufactured, becomes the synoger of all eyes, because I have always said, beta, don't just be a face in the crowd, be the face in a crowd. And that's all I did. I always was there for her, and my daughter has come with the blessed quality of being a resilient person and a person blessed with positive attitude. I continue to share that fantastic relationship with her. So answering to your query, to the parents who have such problems with their children, you are the beacon of light for them. I don't know what your husbands can contribute. I cannot do much about it. I can only tell you, stand up for what is right and communicate the way you need to communicate. So, who has joined us? Hi, Namrata. Hi, Raina. Hi, Julie. Glad that you had the time to join us. And I was just explaining life positions, and I'm coming to the position of I mentioned the position of I'm okay, you're not okay. I mentioned the position of I'm not okay, you're okay. And the last position, or before I get on to the I'm okay, you're okay position, is the I'm not okay, you're not okay. Now, this is a very hopeless position. It's like, you're dharti pe boj. You're not wanting to do anything in life. You're just there. Life just passes by you. And you think you are worthless, and you think interacting with any other person also would be worthless. It's the worst position to be in, right? At least the other two positions, some activity is happening and you're working on yourself. However, I would like all of you to be in a position where you say, I'm okay and you're okay. and your communication also should be the same way. Uh, what happens is we're talking about communication in relationships. So I'm sure you have these small, kind of encounters with your husband, with your sisters, with your brothers, with your children, and not all of them are pleasant. Okay. The reason these are not pleasant is because you have one most important disease. I call it a disease. I'm sorry for the harsh word, but we all are trapped in this disease, and the disease is called expectations. The moment people don't interact, the moment your loved ones don't react, the moment you are absolutely not expecting the reply that you had in your head, absolutely at that point of time, you are disillusioned, you are disappointed, you are absolutely zoned out. When you have expectations, this is what happens. Who the hell are you or me to expect what you want from people who are totally different and complete individuals? Communicate with the intention of getting no as an answer. The reason your expectations are brought down with a third is because you do not have clarity in your thoughts. When you communicate because जो दिमाग में आया है वो मुझे बोलना है. Now जब आपको बोलना है तो बोलना ही है उसी वक्त. But communication also needs to be crafted very well in your head first. When it is crafted well in your head first, then they form words. Words too need to be woven very beautifully in a necklace. And that necklace has to come out with the right kind of thread, which is the tone. And if the tone matches, if the word matches, if your body language, which I call as the packaging, matches, you have a winner hands down. But how many of us spend time to find out whether this is the right way to communicate? Let's talk about your mother-in-law. Let's talk about your husband. The interaction, let's take one by one. Talking about interaction with your husband. Comes home very tired, maybe working in a corporate, does have a business, whatever. Comes home tired. Instead of sitting down, watching his body language, understanding the mood that he is in, you start communicating whatever has happened during the course of the day with you. Is the man really going to be interested? Absolutely not, because he comes with his own baggage. Allow that much time. Allow that settlement to happen. There are moments in your life which you need to capture. Those are your moments where you need to strike and talk, what you need to speak. The problem with us is that we do things because somebody's watching. You should do things when nobody's looking. That's the difference, and that forms your personality. So give him time to rest, to unwind. And that's when you can have a conversation with him. Otherwise, it's just a dialogue which has absolutely no end. It may not even have a happy ending. You talk about your mother-in-law. Now, your mother-in-laws must have also had their journey in their life. They must have also been, working their royal backsides off for their family. Every time trying to please their husband. Every time trying to please whatever comes along with the husband. And paying very, very little attention to what their needs are, what their desires are. So when a daughter-in-law comes into the family, the lady heaves a sigh of relief and says, "Oh Lord, thank you God, somebody here to take the baton from me." And that's when she basically interacts with you the way she interacts. Now it is up to you to change that course of conversation and craft it to the way you want it to be. Give her all the love and affection as you've given your mother, and then see the magical change. So one story comes to my mind. I read it in the WhatsApp. I'm sure many groups would have circulated it. It's basically about a lady and a girl and her mother-in-law, where there's a lot of constant fights and bickerings and extremely bad communication between the two of them. So the daughter-in-law goes and approaches a, a ved or a doctor and mentions that, well, I'm really, really fed up with this lady, old woman. She's constantly bickering, she's constantly nagging, and I want you to give me something, maybe so that, she ends, so I'm able to help her end her life. But you give me something where it cannot be detected that I'm responsible for ending her life. So the doctor goes inside. He's a wise doctor. He goes inside and gets her, something. Gets her a powder and says that, well, you do one thing. You keep on mixing this powder little by little into a food, and give mix it in the food. And after some time, I'm sure the work will be done, and she'll be no more. But and while you're doing it, ensure that you speak nicely to her, and you keep on taking care of her. So she goes back and she does that. Yeah, hi Priyanka, I have read your question and I'm going to answer that in just a short while. So she does that, and as the months or the days go by, the girl realizes that the communication has become a little more better and better and better, and now it has grown into a beautiful relationship. Because when she speaks nicely to her mother-in-law, the same reaction she starts getting. She rushes to the doctor after a month or so and says, please, please, please do something, do something. I want you to reverse this. I don't want my mother-in-law to die because she's such a loving person, and I need her guidance, I need her help, and I need her blessings to be with me as long as she can. So the doctor says, well, my dear girl, the, the powder that I gave you is nothing. It was just sugar, powdered sugar. All I wanted you to understand is that you have to work within you. You have to take away the hard feelings, the ill feelings that you have against someone. The moment you do that, your communication also changes. And when you make that effort, the the person opposite also sees that effort, and that's how communication takes a different course within the period of time. So, my friends, it's basically a catalyst that you need to be to change whatever is not happening in your life, and therefore you can't expect the other person to change. The question asked by Priyanka is, what if we communicate, but the next person doesn't interact? Um, well, I can answer this only in one way. If it's your loved one, okay, I'm going to give you, let me give you an analogy. You bring a TV, and this is the smart TV with a lot of different buttons, etc. And you have an old grandmother staying with you. Now, do you think that she's going to understand the workings of a remote or the workings of the smart TV at once? I don't think so. Absolutely not, right? So what do? You take your time and explain to her only the usages of four buttons which she normally requires, so that she operates the TV in your absence. After a couple of days, you still find her struggling with the remote. You explain to her once again. Maybe after another couple of days, you still find her struggling. What do? Do you shout? Do you holler? Do you have a bad attitude towards her? Because my God, lady, I explained to you 4 times, and you still do not have the audacity or the mental capability to understand the normal working of a remote. I'm sure those thoughts don't cross your mind. If they even cross, you don't express them. What do? If I think the only thing that would come to your mind is, okay, this way of explanation hasn't helped me. Let me try another way. And you try and you try and you try till the time your old grandmother gets the hang of it. So, my dear Priyanka, if the person that you're communicating with is worth something to you, keep up your efforts. If it is some colleague which just wants to ignore you, there are many other colleagues to interact. So you take a call on that. But if in a communication, stakes are high, emotions run high, and the future of your relationship depends on this communication, then you've got to try, my dear girl, because that's what is going to make you or take you to another level with that particular person. I hope I've answered that question. Hey, Parveen, stories are good, but not true in most of the personal life. In personal life, when people doing something for you and then another person starts taking you for granted, in that case, what can be done? Darling, I just mentioned to you, you allow people to do what you do, what you allow people to do what they do to you, hence they do it to you. आप परमिशन उनको ब्लैंकेट परमिशन देते हैं कि टेक मी फॉर ग्रांटेड. So when you do that, there are people who will take you for granted. So if you want to put your foot down, if you're talking about your brother or your sister, you have to put your foot down and put down the ground rules. This is accepted, this is acceptable, and this is not acceptable. You need to put those foot down. Communication pattern changes over there. But if you are going to be the suffering person, and if you're going to say, okay, मैं इतना करती हूँ और फिर भी मेरे कोई value nahi hai, and all that stuff, that becomes old Hindi films kind of for this. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, you're an extremely strong individual. Nobody should take it for granted. If there is something that needs to be taken care of and mentioned to the people, go right ahead and say so. But use assertive communication. I am not the person who proposes anyone to use an aggressive format or a passive format. Yes, we use all these kind of formats, the aggressive way, the passive way, and the assertive way at different points of time in our life. But try to hold on to the assertive way of communicating wherein you're extremely sure and confident of what you want. And you convey that to the person without making the other person feel horrible, without making the other person feel let down, and you get what you want. I hope, Parveen, I've answered that question of yours. Okay. So, where were we? What can I tell you about communication more? All right. So, the another thing that I wanted to share with you is, many times, yes, Parveen, I would love to meet you and then we'll talk, we'll take that personally offline. Yes, I would really love to interact with you on that. Friends, I just want to say one thing is life is too short. Yeah. And this kind of a revelation has come to me pretty late in life. Yeah. I'm talking about my own personal relationships. For a very long time, I've been wanting to do an open program called Crucial Conversations. And the reason it has not seen the light of the day is because I feel that unless and until I walk that talk, I have no right to stand at the podium and speak about crucial conversations. Well, I'm 90% there and I'm ready to take on this program, which I'm sure I will come forth in this year itself. But coming back to what I intend to tell you, why do I say life is short? We always are, sitting and waiting for the other person to take that first step to perhaps resurrect our relationship and communicate, taking that first step to communicate with us. I have one relationship which is professional. I had a fantastic working relationship with this concerned person. Something happened during the course of time, and the lady, took offense to something that she assumed I did. And I sat on one side of, at one end, thinking that how the hell could she think something like that? Doesn't she know me? Doesn't she know my integrity, etc., etc., etc.? Now, what did I do over here? And what did she do over there? Both of us gave a lot of wind, fanned our perceptions. We made a lot of assumptions. It took us 2 bloody years of not talking to each other, just on a very small thing where she could have picked up the phone and spoken to me, or I could have picked up the phone and clarified certain things. 2 beautiful years just went by without working with each other. And I respect that lady a lot. She has fantastic knowledge. She's a beautiful person internally and externally, multifaceted, multi-talented. Now it is entirely my loss that I lost those 2 beautiful years. So don't wait for that long. This was, of course, a professional relationship. We have families in which sisters, brothers um, don't talk to each other for years together based on something. You know what we are good at? We are good at building beautiful stories. I mean, if Yash Chopra was looking out for script writers, I think we could be the best ones because we build a story around an event so wonderfully, so beautifully that it would put a normal script writer to shame. So, what are stories? It's basically an event happening in your life, and you look at it from that perception that you start building a story around it. It's as simple as you called a person, and the person did not pick up a phone. Now, when that person doesn't pick up a phone, the person doesn't pick up a phone. That's it. There's nothing more to add to it. But we, the master crafters and the master storytellers, what do? फोन नहीं उठाया, जरूर कुछ प्रॉब्लम होगा, मेरा कॉल देखते ही उसने नहीं उठाया. So this starts building up stories and stories and stories, and with the result, when you communicate with that person, instead of having it out with that person and asking, oh, I called you the other day and you didn't pick up the call, you keep that in your mind and you craft your communication according to what is in your mind. As I said, everything that comes out of your mouth is what you have over here. And over here, if it is garbled, warped, and not clear, you will never be able to be a good orator, neither a good communicator, and you will not be able to express yourself. So it's important that you sit back today. I would recommend highly that you sit back today and you understand what are the relations that are there in your life at this point of time, and try to see, analyze, is it worth it? I have not been speaking to my sister, or my real sister. Okay, we are three products. I'm the eldest. My second sister comes after 5 years, and the last one comes after 10 years. So we are three sisters. I have not spoken to my sister for maybe about 3 years or 4 years in a row, just based on pure assumptions. Never had the, I don't say guts, but I was so hurt by the story I built around an event that I kept on fanning it, and it had got a lot of sir, it had got a pair, matlab sir, pair, or all parts of the body was story ko aa gaye. With the result, that story became my reality. And when you live in that reality, you hardly think about rectifying something which should be rectified in the first place. So I lost 3 beautiful years or 4 beautiful years of my life not interacting with her. Entirely my fault. Was it her fault? Absolutely not. That was her way of her way of dealing with it. But it was my fault because if I had taken that opportunity of airing out my differences with her, perhaps those 3 years or 4 years would not have been lost out of my life. So most important thing is you need to sit back and at least one day, at least today, pick up a phone and speak to that one relation which you want to revive. It doesn't take time to say, I am sorry. It doesn't take away your individuality. In fact, it speaks volumes of what frame of mind you are or what bent of mind you have. So I would appreciate if you guys really did that effort today. Be it your husband, be it a friend, be it your sister, be it your brother. Any relationship which has been bothering you that you want to revive, do it right now. Now, the most important thing that I'm going to speak about is how you interact with your children. I don't know if you all guys belong to my age group, but we had growing up and the progress that we have seen in society. It's been a beautiful era for us, and respecting elders, taking care of them, competition not being what it is today, being with friends, playing games which were not on computer. Obviously, computers were not there at that point of time. We didn't have mobile phones, so it was all in the open, and it was a fabulous time to grow up. So our values and our virtues and whatever has been instilled in our upbringing is fantastic. We take care of our parents and we are very much there for them. Can we say the same for our children today? Well, while watering that plant, which is your child, you have neglected putting the right kind of fodder, putting the right kind of seed, putting the right kind of love, murmuring the right kind of endurance to them, then perhaps you have missed the bus. Well, I can say I haven't missed the bus. I really took the right kind of bus because, as I said, for communication, you need to be extremely observant. For communication, you need to be aware. For communication, you need to be extremely conscious. You need to learn from other people's mistakes. So when I watch my parents communicate between them, when I watch my parents communicate to us, I took the best things and I omitted what I didn't like. I ensured that I wouldn't be making the same mistakes what I would do when I would have the child of my own. So, if you have instilled the right kind of values in your child, you don't have to worry, absolutely. So, what happens with us as mothers or as parents is a child who takes our finger and walks the walk till the time they need us. You are still in that thought process and that memory. The child soon learns to be independent. The child soon learns to express his or her own opinion. We get caught in the vortex of accepting or not accepting. So, in order for your communication to be, what can I say, effective, in order to see that your kids remain friends to you till the time you have on this earth, you need to treat them as individuals. You need to understand what they are trying to say verbally, what they may not try to say verbally, their unspoken word, their body language is extremely important. You need to give them a lot of assurances through the way you speak to them that even if you fall, I am there to catch you. Always assuming a reprimanding mode, always finding faults with the way they communicate or the way they behave, always comparing them with so-called um, other kids is the worst thing that you can do while communicating with your child because the child keeps that in mind. Understand one thing, friends. We all are busy in our day-to-day lives. We all are extremely busy in our day-to-day lives. But there are times when you have to see to it that you have a family and you need to spend time with them. Not just spend time, you have to understand their thought process, and that thought process can be found only when you speak the right words, only when you try and communicate with them the way you need to. I had attended my daughter's open house when she was around 4 or 5 year old. There was a psychologist who had visited, and she said that no, I have often heard of young parents speak about I don't have the time, I don't have the time. मैंने तो अपने बच्चा आया को दे दिया because I have to rush to work or I have to rush to this place or that place. So she just made one mention, and that stayed with me throughout my life till today. It resonates with me. And she said, "Well, at this point of time, when they are dependent on you, you can definitely say that you don't have the time. But when they grow up and when you need them the most, I'm sure they will turn back and say, I don't have the time." So you are preparing ground for that kind of relationship with them. So basically, what I feel is that you need to um, express whatever you feel, express it in a proper way. There is not, you don't express to give your opinion. You express to see what is right and not who is right. That's the most important thing when you're communicating with anybody for that matter. So I feel that though communication is a very abused word, sorry to use that word for communication, it has a profound meaning to it. You have to be extremely aware of how you end up communicating with people, and that would make a difference between you being a effective communicator or a communicator who just likes to talk about what he or she feels. So, friends, I would love to get some questions if there are any. Um, and I really don't know what else I can speak to you on this topic because it's basically of introspection. I do not have any formula to give you. I can only tell you that the pages that I've turned from the book of my life has been tremendously influential on how I communicate with others. And it's very important that you learn. I have seen that most important thing, when they say in communication, they say that I've heard of many trainers say, so what is so important about communication? I've seen people on the floor and they go with that knowing smile and they want people to they talk about what do they think is important in communication, and voila, they say, oh, listening is what is important in communication. Friends, yes, it's the most important discovery that listening is most important in communication because we don't listen enough. Hence, we communicate the way we communicate. It takes tremendous willpower to keep your mouth shut and listen. Because the moment someone starts speaking, you are already making the dialogues ready to counter react to whatever is being said to you. Um, in the past 2 years that I mentioned about me being in the most in the throes of being what can I say, it's low self-esteem, low self-confidence. You know what I developed the most, friends? My listening skills. I was in a professional relationship with another lady where I did projects. She's a very strong personality and extremely knowledgeable. At the point of time that I, decided to collaborate with her, I was at my lowest. I mean, our lowest is basically a very basic word to describe. So whenever she communicated, she mentioned that I should not speak a word about, whenever we are with a client or whatever. And the state of mind that I was in, I never rebelled. I just took it on. So when you say that you're not supposed to speak a word, what do? You just start listening. And I thank that beautiful girl from the bottom of my heart because she honed my listening skills to such an extent that my communication has gone a 360 degrees turn because my listening has improved. So I can understand what people are saying to me. I don't react, I respond. So that has been a fantastic thing for me. So listening is so very important, and so let's not jump into understanding. Let's not jump into giving our opinions at the first because nobody's asked your advice. Nobody tells you give me your advice unless they do, unless they say very specifically give. But if they don't, what that other person who comes to you is saying is, यार मेरी बात सुनो, मुझे कोई सुनने वाला नहीं है, आप सुन सकते हो. You need to offer that kind of platform to that person because there is a learning for you in that too. So I feel that in order to be uh, effective or fabulous communicators in all your relationships, पहले सुनना सीखिए. इसीलिए तो भगवान ने हमें it's important to understand and note on a humorous note that even when he was creating us, he decided to give us one mouth and 2 ears so that we listen more and we talk less. Yeah, so yeah, I think I have shared with you what I feel I could share, making relationships effective. So let's take a little bit of recap over here. that first and foremost, learn to observe. Be aware of your surroundings. Use your communication in a way that it is accepted. Have zero expectations. Most importantly, you all love to wear different clothes because we love variety, don't we? Otherwise, clothes are basically to hide our body. It's basically to hide our nakedness. But yet, you go shopping for different colors, different fits, everything that is, everything that looks good. You always want to be seen with that. When you take so much efforts for something which is only used to hide your nakedness, why don't you guys take that effort to hunt for different verbal clothes? Learn to speak the same thing in a different manner with different words, because everybody likes to, have variety. And when you have variety in your life, you have to also have variety in your communication. So most importantly, you need to also change your verbal clothes on and off, because people love that. And yes, most important thing, मैंने ये सब कर लिया, मैं observant बन गई, मैं aware बन गई, मैंने verbal clothes भी change कर लिए. But if all these efforts do not match your body language, they just go down the drain. I am pleased to meet you should be throughout your body. It just cannot be I'm pleased to meet you. That just doesn't come out the way it has to come out. So every pore of your body should be synchronized with what you're trying to say to the other person. Yes, that's more important. Oh, Asmita, you love my verbal clothes, is it? Good, good. So I'm sure that you're going to keep changing them all the time. All right, friends, I think I must have done some kind of value addition to what is your take on communication. I've shared with you what I feel. I am still work in progress. I still have arguments with my mom. I still have a little bit of misunderstanding with my husband. I still have a lot of, expectations from my child, my only child. But what differentiates the Sujata that you see now from the Sujata that was several years ago is I have become extremely aware. I have become extremely careful with how I react. I respond most of the times. My expectations are not very high. In fact, there are no expectations at some point of time. I change my communication according to what kind of a listener is standing in front of me. I do not keep on rattling if the person in front of me does not like a lot of verbiage. So basically, if you really, really want to um, make yourself heard, these are the small things, these are the small nuances that you need to understand and craft or build your communication accordingly. So, yeah, this is what is there from me from today, from tonight. I just hope I'm able to interact with you guys more often on different topics. And thank you, Riddhi, for giving me this platform to speak on something which is so close to my heart. And you lovely people don't have questions for me, so either I have rattled off mindlessly for you to not understand what I've spoken, or you are so mesmerized by my personality that you just don't have any questions. So I prefer to stick to the second one. And well, I would like to sign off if that's fine, or if you have any questions, I would love to, be there. Okay, so thank you for listening to me. And if you want to take anything offline, I'm always there. Thank you. It's been lovely interacting with you. Bye bye. Have a safe life.